Hello everyone, welcome to a quick tutorial on how to integrate OneNote for your design studio. I know that for some of us this might be a new approach, but I think it's actually going to be quite exciting, right? And let me show you why. Now, first thing, we're going to look on exactly what is OneNote, and then we look on how we plan to integrate it in Design Studio, and I'll give you a quick tutorial on using OneNote. What I want to present to you guys is the idea of OneNote becoming sort of like an ideas book where you can put a range of ideas in different mediums in one place, right? So from websites to YouTube videos, images, your research, whether the research is in a Word document, PDF, local videos that's on your computer, along with audio files, and it integrates beautifully with other devices, especially if you have a digital pen, right? So it will make not just a great ideas book for school, but for life as a whole. So in understanding how OneNote works, think of it as the classic notebook. And the classic notebook that we know used to have things like tabs that you can easily find what you're looking for. So in a nutshell, the interface of OneNote represents a notebook where you have the actual notebook, you have the sections of the notebook, and then you have the individual pages of the notebook, and those are represented on the bars on the interface. And in a nutshell, that is essentially what OneNote is, just mimicking the classic folder notebook that we're used to carrying around. So the idea is that to have a digital notebook or a book that you can capture your ideas, these are some of the best features of an ideas book. The ability to have a vector graphics. This is great because you can export it to your AutoCAD and your vector work afterwards and so forth. To have media files, to be able to search for things quickly, right? It should be able to take things like sketches and of course office documents, Word, PowerPoint, so forth, and of course it has to be great with collaboration. So whatever tool you decide to use in the future, these are some features of a great note-taking app. And of course OneNote does all of these pretty well, right? So one of the first features, the way you can use OneNote is for sketches and diagrams. This is one of the primary things you'll be using OneNote for in Design Studio, right? Now, you don't necessarily have to do your sketching in OneNote. You can do it on your paper, take a picture and add it to OneNote. But if you happen to have a digital pen, or you have, for example, an iPad or maybe a touchscreen laptop that has the option of a digital pen, you should give it a try taking some of your sketches and diagrams in OneNote. The great thing about the page in OneNote is that it's not a static page, meaning it's not just about housing sketches or even images. You can house things like links, YouTube videos, even audio files. You can imagine coming up with an idea for a concept, and for that concept maybe you have a video. This is actually a YouTube video on the page that you can actually play, but you could record yourself saying something about the design and save that recording on the page. Maybe it's a conversation that you had with somebody about the design. So this is a great feature of storing mixed media note-taking on a single page, right? The ability to save office documents to a OneNote page. For this example, this that you're seeing is an actual Excel file, and that Excel file actually previews in OneNote. So it does the same thing for Word and PowerPoint, so you can actually store your office documents and preview it on the same digital page in the OneNote notebook. This is one of probably the greatest features of OneNote, is the ability to find stuff quickly. If you store a lot of notes in OneNote, a lot of sketches, you can tag them so that you can use the search feature in OneNote to find them quickly, especially in a case where you have a lot of notebooks with a lot of sections. And for those of us who are a bit techy, starting in OneNote allows the notes and sketches to be taken in vector format. So what that means is that you can actually export the OneNote, and these lines actually come up as lines in your architectural program, for those of you who want to go a bit deeper. So the general premise is that for using the OneNote for Design Studio, the student will be required to create a notebook. Now, the student can still traditionally achieve their hand sketches, then take a picture with their phone, and from the phone you can add those pictures to your notebook. Now, when you use your phone with OneNote, if you install the OneNote app, you can actually share the picture you just took of your sketches to the same OneNote notebook from your phone, right? You could also put it on your computer and then copy it to the OneNote, but because OneNote is on all devices, it makes sense for you to install OneNote on your phone, and then so that when you take pictures of your work, you can just share those pictures directly to OneNote. And it's very similar to sharing your pictures to WhatsApp. You just choose OneNote instead of WhatsApp on your phone, and it's as simple as that. Now, when you have your notebook, it will be stored in the cloud, that's as you saw in the video, and hence once it's in the cloud, it will have a link to access the notebook. And what you're going to do is share the notebook via email. There's actually a share feature in the notebook, and I want you to also share it as a web link. So that way there are two ways in which your lecturers can access the notebook. So I'm recommending you share it these two ways just to make sure that there are multiple ways of accessing the notebook. Okay, so what we're going to cover quickly is creating a new notebook with OneNote, and you're going to create the notebook with your name and ID. Then you're going to share the notebook. We're going to look on how to do that, and we're going to share it both as an email and as a link. And we are going to create a dedicated page to today's class, right? So for every class from now on, the idea is you create a new page and you only put items on that page that is related to the current class, so that it is easy for your lecturers to understand. So after you have prepared your OneNote page, share it with the lecturer. Then the lecturer will be able to speak to you based on the items you have on that page. There are three versions of OneNote that exist, right? So firstly, there is the OneNote app, right? And the OneNote app is the version of OneNote that is on your desktop, your PC or Mac, as well as on mobile devices. So for example, if you install OneNote on your Android, OneNote on your iPad or iPhone, or OneNote on your mobile Windows device, it will use the OneNote app, right? This is one version of OneNote. Now, when you have a desktop, like a Windows 10 desktop, you can have both the app and the desktop versions, right? And these two versions are going to be the most popular that you will notice. When you type OneNote on your computer, you will see these two versions come up, and you can use any one of them. They are the same program. However, the OneNote desktop, which is only on your PC or Mac, right? You won't find this on the mobile phones, has the most features. right? This is like using a full-on Office program, and it has features that the app for mobile devices and the web versions don't have. Now, the last version of OneNote that I want to show you is the web version. And what's great about the web version is you don't need the application to use the web version. If you share a link and they click on the link, it will just open up in Chrome or whatever browser you have working with, regardless of if you have the desktop app or the mobile app. So those are the three main versions of OneNote right there, right? When you go to your Windows computer, you might notice here are the two versions. If you search for OneNote, you will see OneNote and OneNote 2016, right? Now, most persons with a Windows computer, you might see two. In some cases, maybe you have a Windows 7 or older computer, you might only see the desktop version, which is this. Windows 10, you will see two of them if you have Office installed. And on the Mac, you will get the 2016 version, I believe, right? So both of them are the same program. The desktop version has the most features, but they all link to the same notebook. I'll just quickly introduce you to the user interface, right? So this is the mobile version of OneNote, right? And if you remember what we saw earlier with the three versions, so this version here that you will find on your desktop and on the mobile devices, which this is the one that I have just opened, right? Meaning when you go to your computer and you search for OneNote, I have opened this one right here, right? Now, this one is good enough to do everything. You don't have to use the desktop version. I find that most people who are maybe advanced in OneNote, they might want to use the desktop version because it has more advanced features. But the mobile version is good enough, and it's a little quicker and less bulky, especially for those of us that are new to OneNote, right? So I've opened up this version, right? And what you're going to do, the first thing you're going to do when you open up OneNote is you're going to create a new notebook. Now to do that, we're going to click on this icon on the left. This is my actual notebook here, and these are my sections and these are my pages. Now I'm going to go into this list up top, and I'm going to go to add notebook, right? So I click add notebook, and it's going to ask me to name the notebook. So I'm going to call this notebook Brian Williams, and I'm going to put my ID number after it, right? That's just a placeholder, and I go to create notebook, and it will start creating the notebook. Now notice when I create this notebook, it's actually being created in the cloud, right? And when I say cloud, I mean under your Microsoft Hotmail email, right? Now for those of you that are using a Windows computer, when I speak about user, you might already have a login in order to use your Windows PC. Most modern PCs requires you to have a Hotmail address. So when you create a new notebook, it will be created under that account, right? Now you have to have a Microsoft Hotmail email in order for you to have or host a notebook. So for the Mac users that doesn't have Windows 10, when you download OneNote to your Mac, you're going to have to make a Hotmail address, and then that will allow you to make your notebook in the cloud. For those of you who have Windows 10, if you already had to log in using your Hotmail address, then no need for you to create another one. When you create the notebook, it will be under that username. Now back to the notebook. So I've created a notebook with my name and my ID number. These sections here, remember the section represents the chapters of the notebook. So if we look back on our slide, you will remember the chapters represent these tags that are in your typical folder, right? And that is what we are seeing when we look here. These are the sections. So a good idea is to have, for example, sections that represent major events within your course. So for example, I could have a section that's called maybe final interims. I could rename this section here and call this maybe desk crits, right? And you can have more sections. This is just recommended for you to keep your notes organized, right? Now within each section there are now pages. So for example, for desk crits, you might want to name this page, which you can rename here, or you can name it up here. Notice OneNote saves the current date. So I could call this Tuesday desk crit, or maybe a better name would be maybe Tuesday's desk crit, and maybe your objective was resolving floor plans, right? So just so you can keep an idea, because you might have multiple pages. So I might have another one, and maybe this is maybe resolving elevations, right? Maybe you want to divide them by the major tasks for you. But what is important is that when the lecturer comes to you, only information relating to the current desk crit must be on this page. Now, once you've created the page, you can maximize your view by closing this up, and you have essentially a limitless page at your disposal. Now, for those of you who have, for example, a tablet or pen, or even if you just have your mouse, you can do your sketches under the draw command. If you have your mouse, you need to enable the draw with mouse or touch feature, and that will allow you to select a pencil. If you have a digital pen, then this would be off, and the OneNote will automatically detect when you draw with your pen versus touch with your hand, right? So at this point, in preparing for your desk crit, you would want to place all your related items on the page. This might be a combination of photos, sketches, maybe even some PDFs, Word documents, or YouTube videos. It is as simple as a drag and drop. Okay, so now let's look at the quickest way to get information onto your digital page, right? Now, one of the quickest ways to get information on your page is to take a screen clip. For those of you that are using a Windows PC, there is actually an app that's built into Windows, and if you press start and type SNIP, Snip, you will see an app that's called Snip Tool, and you'll see one named Snip and Sketch. Now, you can use any one of these, but I'm going to advise you use the Snip and Sketch. When you click that, the app will open up and it will look something like this. And the app basically allows you to take a screen clipping of your screen. Now, let's say you have a web page up, and perhaps the web page is something to do with your project. Well, using the Snip and Sketch feature, what you can do is just go to New and take New Snip, and you can, for example, take a snip there, and you can sketch on it here, but it's more preferable that you copy it and go to OneNote, your page, and you right click and paste. Right then and there, it drops on your screen. Now, to zoom out in OneNote, you hold Control and mouse wheel, or pinch and zoom if you have a touch screen. Now, you can put this virtually anywhere on your page, right? It's a virtual page essentially limitless. And while here, if you so desire, you can use your sketching tool and make quick notes that relates to your desk crit, right? Now, of course, your snip feature can do a lot more. For example, you may be in Revit and perhaps you want to resolve one of your floor plans. Well, simple. What you can do is just bring it up on screen, switch back to the snip tool and just go take a new snip and just snip the area that you want to place in OneNote, copy and go to OneNote and paste. Let's turn off sketch mode and paste there, right? So you have this unlimited space that you can add multiple medias to. Now, additionally, let's say that you are doing some research on YouTube, for example. Maybe you are researching on YouTube something that has to do with your project. Well, while on YouTube, what you can do is go to share, copy this link, and paste it on your page. And what you will notice happen is that the video itself will become usable as well. So if I hit play here, notice that the video actually plays on the same page, which is pretty cool.
For much of the past century, architecture was under the spell of the thing.
Okay, so so far that's different mediums. You could also insert a audio recording, right? So I could hit the record button here and it will ask to access your microphone. There it is, and it will actually play the recording there now. So it's actually recording. Now I'm going to hit stop and I can click on this recording and click play. There it is, and it will actually play. There we go. So this is just a quick way you can get information into OneNote. Your screen clipping works especially good for those of you who have maybe your work in a 3D program and you want to quickly just orbit to a particular view and use the screen clip feature to capture a quick screenshot and place in your OneNote page. There we go. Now the important thing is that you need to organize all of these in a manner that the lecturer can understand when you are speaking to that particular lecturer. So in essence, this is like a sheet that you would have to organize, right? Now to share your work with your lecturers, you would go to the share button here and you can send an email invitation to the notebook. Notice that when you send an email invitation, it not only accesses this page, but it also accesses your entire notebook. So keep that in mind. If you want to have separate notes, then it's best to make a whole new notebook altogether, which would be here, right? So to share it with your lecturers, you're going to go to share and you are going to allow them to edit, right? Because they would need to make their notes, and you type their email address. Of course, your lecturers would need to also have a Hotmail account. There we go. And we click share. And that's it. They will get an email notification that will allow them to access this notebook. Additionally, you can share by a link, right? And you can get a link. Actually, this is not the place to share via link. If you want to share the notebook via a link, you would need to go to your list of notebooks, which is this drop down arrow here, and you right click and you can copy a link to notebook like that. Now it's actually in your clipboard. So if you go anywhere to paste it now, for example, let's say WhatsApp, and I go right click and paste, notice it pastes a link to the notebook, and anybody who clicks on this link can access the notebook directly from their web page. There we go. So it's fully accessible via the web page. So these are the two ways in which I recommend that you share your notebook, so that the lecturers or even your fellow students can collaborate or assist with your design. Okay, so having OneNote on your mobile device will allow you to quickly share information on your phone, like photographs, directly to your OneNote page. So that is a quick way that you can get information from your cell phone onto your notebook, as illustrated in our diagram here. That's how you get from your cell phone to your notebook. Okay, so thanks for watching, and that is just a quick tutorial to get you guys started with your design studio on OneNote.